Hi, and welcome to Mark's Motivational Podcast for this Tuesday evening. Tonight I've got a real treat for you. I have another founding member of the Purple Book Club, Tony Gordon. So myself and Tony and Vicky and Steve have been working together for the last couple of months. It's been great. I'm really looking forward to interviewing Tony on the podcast tonight. So you're very welcome along tonight, Tony.
Thank you, Mark. Very nice welcome.
Yeah, no, it's great. And so how have you been? Okay, all good.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Busy day working, but yeah,
Yeah,
really good.
yeah. Okay, so I suppose we'll start the interview around where it all began for you, really, with the hypnosis. You work a lot around hypnosis, isn't that correct? All right.
Um, well, yeah, it's probably the newest thing that I do.
Yeah,
Give a bit of background
yeah.
well, for over 17 years, I've worked as part of a bank,
Okay.
and part of my role within the bank is coaching,
Mm.
and it's the part I love the most. So we different aspects to the job. I love coaching other managers, other people. It just there's nothing like the feeling you get when someone achieves their goal and you look in their face. I call it the light bulb moment. Their eyes suddenly light up and they go, "I can do this." And it's to me, it's one of the most special gifts you can get is being able to do that with someone. Um, so for about I suppose the last 2 or 3 years, I've had a long-term illness, and I had to find a way of trying to deal with it because I was finding it harder and harder to deal with. Is where I come from in Glasgow, it's not something that you normally talk about things like that. You sort of hold it in and try and deal with yourself. And I realised I couldn't.
Mm.
So being honest, one day it just got too much for me. I sat away from went through everything. I just everything came out of every emotion, and I never knew I could even be like that. And what started to make me realise was that if I'm like that, how many other people were like it? So I knew I could coach, but I wanted also something more to do with that. And a lot of people who maybe through confidence issues of that. So anyway, I started doing a bit of hypnosis, hypnotherapy to help myself, and realised how much I actually loved it. So I want to use that with the coaching to take forward to set my own business up and actually become a coaching practice to help other people.
Yeah, no, that's funny because you're a really good coach. Like a big vouch for you because
Thank you.
like we've been working together for the last few months now,
Mhm.
and I think it's great. Your input in the group is amazing. Like for helping us all, like through with the way we kind of give examples and the way you help each other out. But you're
Mhm.
really good. So I'd recommend you to anybody. Like
That's great.
so
Thank you.
it's great, Tony. And just how did it all start? Begin for you? Like how did you get into the coaching side of things? Have you always kind of dabbled in it yourself?
Um, well, yeah, I suppose it's just been all the. See, it depends on different people's interpretation of the word.
Yeah.
For me, it's because there's all different aspects of it.
Mm,
Some people call it feedback. When you give
yeah.
feedback to somebody, but basically you're coaching them if you do it in the right way. Well, for over 20 odd years, I've been doing it because I worked in the security industry before. I worked in the bank, and I trained a lot of guards and managers.
Okay.
So when you're training people, you're coaching them at the same time because just telling someone how to do something, they don't learn it. And that's a normal training practice is they tell you something, you go and do it. I felt that needed to be better is that the person needed to understand more about why they do things as well. And so they realise it. And it's getting them, all I did was provide the tools, the way forward, but they do all the work. It's getting them to do it. And they feel a lot better. And people remember things better when they do that. So I think I've been doing it for, oh no, probably about the last 25 years. I've been coaching people either in the financial services area and customer service. Sales was a big part of my life, coaching people in sales, but also just how to interact with other people. Coaching team managers who are new to a role, they're great one-to-one are doing people, but they don't know how to deal with their own staff because they've never done that before. So it's helping them to understand how to do that. So yeah, it's been a long process, but an enjoyable one as well.
Because you made a really good point a while ago, Tony. That's great. Like, but you made a really good point. We're all kind of coaches in our lives, like without even knowing
Hmm.
about it. Like, it's because
Yeah.
you asked me a great question, like, because I'm only new with it really in the last year or so. But I'm not really like you say, like you all whatever job you're doing, you're always kind of coaching. Would you agree with that, Tony? Like,
Yeah, if you're dealing with other people, then yeah, you usually do it in some respect. For example, if you've got somebody new that comes into your work
mhm,
and your manager that says to you, look, can you bring them up to speed or help them to get into it? Depending how you do it, but a lot of the time you will coach them how to do it. Because if you just told them and left them alone, you're not really helping the person. So you do coach them along and you're there if they've got any questions or if they need any help. And that's why I was saying that to you, because what you've done in your job for a long time, you've actually been coaching people for a long, long time. You just don't use what people call the terminology or know what certain techniques were, but you don't need to do that. You can help others, and that is a form of coaching.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Yeah, that makes so much sense because I never thought of it that way before. Because it's
Mm,
guys like my mindset was I'm new to this, and you kind of have the thing where you're not good enough to do it. But
hmm
you've like the way you kind of that's what say how good of a coach you were. The way you reassure people, like for anybody that's listening, I'd definitely recommend that. So that's brilliant.
hmm
So probably the next question is what area of self development would you, for somebody who's interested in this stuff, what kind of area did you find the best for yourself, Tony?
To be honest, it's a combination.
Hmm.
Um, I started out because of working in the environment I was in with what they call performance coaching, which is really when you're looking at learn how people think and how they behave. That's performance coaching, but it's how you get them to understand that. But I realized I wanted something more and more when I was trying to help people, that if you work with the same things, tools often, you work the same way, you get a bit stale.
Hmm.
So I started learning, reading up on it and learning about a thing called NLP, neuro linguistic programming. But you know about Mark because you've done an actual course
Yeah,
in it as well.
yeah,
And it works on the principle that everyone has the resources within them to make positive changes in their own life. They just don't have the techniques. So NLP provides techniques that are used as a tool to facilitate those changes. So the NLP's therapy basically can be content free. It means that the person who's working with them, the objective and the effective of them knowing is just how to get the person to deal with things on their own. And it's giving them the tools to be able to do that. Because a lot of people have got it inside them to do something more maybe. They just don't always realise it. So you can use these tools to help take it out and help improve them. And leading on from that then became, I said, because of the illness and myself, I needed something a little bit more. And I started learning about hypnosis and hypnotherapy, but I didn't realise how much, same as most people probably, your idea of hypnosis hypnotherapy, seeing a guy on stage making somebody run about like a chicken.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
every time I mention it to people, they all say, well, you're not making me a
yeah,
chicken, but
yeah.
that's what people think. That's the only thing they actually know. They do not realise the medicinal side or
Mm.
the help that hypnosis can actually be for all different things. For example, I said in my role, coaching, use it a lot for people's, you mentioned, confidence, motivation, bringing people's passion out for what they do in the role. They can have lost that over time, help them to do that. You can use it for people who've got fears. Like, for example, I like working with people who want to go for a new job, but they don't want to go for the interview, or they don't want to do an assessment centre, or they feel, you said, that someone's better than them, or they don't have enough. Who says that? Only they say that. And so it's
Yeah.
getting them to work with that. What would they need to do to get through that? And how would they feel when they get the other side? And just imagine, use visualization. How do they feel when they get the job? What's it going to make an impact for their family? How would that extra money be for them? What could they do? You start making them realize we do these things, there's so much more. And hypnosis can just let you take it that little step further.
Mm. And talking about NLP, that's really well explained because it's actually funny. I was saying to my daughter earlier on that I was having yourself on the podcast and I was telling me
Mm-hmm.
you're around hypnosis, and she said the exact same thing. Is that like that guy in the telly who's doing all the gets them to do all this funny stuff? It is, but I explained to her, like you said, like you can deal with phobias and
Yeah,
giving up cigarettes and all. What's that called? I know there's
that's
stage
hypnotherapy.
hypnotherapy.
Hypnosis or stage hypnosis is when you've got a hypnotist on stage and he does what he does.
Yeah.
Um, all he does is, it's without trying to lose all the impact from people, but it's just a way they can tell by certain words they use and certain actions they do who in the audience will be most susceptible to go on stage, who'd want to do that. The big thing, a couple of questions you get asked all the time with hypnosis: can everybody be hypnotized? Yes, they can.
Mm.
Everybody could be hypnotized. Does everybody want to be hypnotized? Not always.
Mm.
And you will get people who go to these things, but they just don't want to get involved. Then that's fine. They won't be hypnotized. And that's what the hypnotist does. Initial part, when you see them saying people to do something, we've done it before. I've done an exercise on yous, whether I got used to close your hands to see if any yous, when I worked with you, to see if yous would be able to go on the hypnosis.
Mm.
And that's all they do. They check that out and they bring the people on stage who they feel are the most susceptible. Hypnotherapy is totally different. It's not about having fun at people's expense or that what they do, or a bit of entertainment. It's using the same skills to actually help people or to improve people's lives. For and nowadays when you look at it, it's hundreds of years old, hypnotherapy. But a lot of things now people look at, if you look at medical side, they use a lot of it for trauma,
Mm.
because people who've been through trauma, they have a habit. The only way they can deal with it is to block it out. So they'll use somebody to use hypnotherapy to try and maybe get back to deal with it. So they have to face the thing so they can move forward. So it's really good for things like that. Actually, you said about phobias, although you can use phobias with hypnotherapy, NLP is still the best thing for phobias, because
Yeah.
it's the quickest method.
Mm.
You can put somebody under hypnosis quite quickly, as in a stage hypnotist can. You can do that as well for hypnotherapy. You could do that with someone, but you wouldn't always necessarily have to, because you could do it with NLP. And the fast
Mm.
phobia cure with NLP is so quick, and it's been proven so many times to be so effective. You mentioned a good one with smoking. You can use it for that, but hypnotherapy, that can just do it a little bit more with doing, taking a little bit stage further for the person. But see if it's things like flying or fear of spiders, anything like that, NLP would be your best way for that.
Mm. It's like, would you agree with me? The anchors in NLP is a great system
Yeah.
for that, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the anchor's used once you solve a problem with someone. They're always concerned with the person, it could come back, or if something happens, they'll worry about it. An anchor is suited their own representative style. Everybody looks at the world in a different way. So, for example, somebody who's visual looks at pictures, sees things, and that's what they would do. So you would do an anchor, which is just a reminder. You associate it with something with that picture, and that would help them to take them away from whatever's been a negative impact. You could have someone who's kinesthetic. I used to do it with someone. They had a certain nervousness when they used to talk to certain type of people. So the way we'd get them to do it is to put an elastic band on his wrist. And every time he was to meet one of them, he just flicked the elastic band and it caused a little ping onto his wrist. And that was his anchor. That was his associating, I know what I've got to do now. So he knew how to deal with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You've got other ones who, visual, so auditory people hear things different way. They hear a certain song, it triggers something. So
Mm-hmm.
you can use an anchor with them using a different type of song or a word, and it stops that happening to them. So yeah, it's a very powerful medium.
Very powerful, yeah. And would that be one of your favorite things, Tony, in NLP? Would you have a kind of favorite? I
Um,
well, it's not doing favorite, but like thing that you find most effective by using it. Well,
well, I've got two things. I think one is yours, your favourite,
yeah. Oh yeah, timelines.
timeline.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And I think also, I think I'd say the fast phobia technique.
Mm,
Those two probably would be the two most powerful ones that I think you can use.
mm,
But because if you think of the impact, if you think someone with a phobia, people different understand. Someone doesn't like a spider, for example, that's not a
mm,
phobia. Somebody gets a bit nervous when spider's walking about, that's not a phobia. Somebody
mm,
sees a spider and their heart starts racing, they start sweating, they start screaming, they're running out of room, that's a phobia. So
yeah.
if you can imagine what that person's life would be like, if you could
Mm,
take that away,
yeah.
and that's what the fast phobia technique does, and it takes that away. All you've got to think of, what's that person going to be like next time that spider walks in that room, and they're there, and they're dealing with something. They just look at it and go, okay, and they carry on working. And then you
Mm.
just get that feeling that I mentioned right at the beginning. It's like the light bulb thing. When you see that they can now deal with that, that's an amazing feeling.
Oh yeah, yeah, great. Yeah, because is that kind of the fast phobia is that's kind of tied into the anchors, really, is it, Tony?
Um, well, you can use anchors with most techniques with NLP, because the anchor you use at the end of it
Yeah,
to just once the change is done.
yeah.
No, the fast phobia thing is another way of describing it really is disassociation for people.
Oh yeah,
So
very
to
good.
disassociate certain memory or certain feeling,
Mm,
and it's getting people to look at something in a different way. So it's changing their perspective of what the
mm,
spider actually is, and is it really a problem or not? And you get them to wipe that out from their mind. So it just distorts it. So they keep moving it back and forward, the image.
mm,
And after a period of time, if you keep doing something like that, your mind doesn't really know what it is anymore. So it
yeah.
doesn't bother it. If you think, example, if you see someone who's got a fear of spiders sees a little black ball of string, and
Mm,
someone's like it's falling off something and it lands on the floor, like off a sock or anything,
mm,
their mind associates that right away as a spider,
yeah,
even though
yeah.
logically it's not. It's
Mm,
not moving, it's not doing anything, but they would see as that. So what you've got to do is to take that perspective at their head, that anything they see like that is a picture, and you're just replacing that picture with something that's better. So
mm,
when their mind thinks about it now, it's just a little thing that walks about. It's nothing else. Doesn't
mm.
harm, not going to do anything. So it's just changing. Everything's about changing people's perspective and changing the state of their mind. It's all a mindset thing.
Yeah, because I get you. That's very well explained, Tony. Thanks very much. Like, I think that association and disassociation stuff is so powerful. Like, because I was actually
Yeah.
just doing a section in the course I was doing today where Graham Nichols, he's the guy that done the NLP course with me. As you probably agree with me, he's really, really good teacher. But he basically got you to kind of imagine a happy time in your life, and he got you very associated with, got you to feel and hear everything that was going on, and then he got you to move away from it then and just see yourself doing it. It's incredible, really, the way it's done, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's dissociating with that. So what you do, you disassociate from, say, for the spider by any chance, and you'll associate yourself with every time you feel like that, that's what takes over. You've got this, so you dissociate so you can see there's no issue. You can just take it away, step into it, and everything's fine. To associate like that is to have a happy place, a sort of somewhere that you feel content, nothing can happen to you, is always a great thing for anybody to have. Because if you have an up day or a down day, it's amazing how that can just make that little memory comes back, and you just feel yourself light up. And that's the good thing about that is we call it submodalities and NLP. Is well, you mentioned there, if you've got someone and you're trying to get them to get that image, and they think I can see it, but I can't quite get it. It can just be because they learn in different ways. I mentioned earlier. It could be because they can't visually see something. Doesn't mean it can't be there. When, for example, if you say to someone like they think of going to a date at the beach, we mentioned this before. So you go to the beach. What's the first thing you think of when you go to the beach?
Yeah, well, the weather is so nice. The
Right,
weather,
so the weather.
and
So you see the weather, and that's how you see it looks like. So you see the weather. If someone who's a different type of rep style, it's called, does it, they'll see to do something different. They might hear the sound of the waves as the water laps up as here. They'll hear the laughter as people walking by. They'll hear the ice cream vans, or they'll hear people then having drinks, dogs barking, people laughing, all of that. And somebody who's kinesthetic, the same, they feel all those feelings when they go. So they feel the warmth of the sun on their back, and you can actually see their back arch when they think about it because they're getting those feelings coming back. That's the great thing about them. Using all those kind of things can make that image set in people's minds longer.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant. It really is great. It's great stuff. That's one of my favorite things in NLP as well. So much there, Tony. So getting back to yourself, you've got you've got your own podcast coming up soon as well. You're setting up. What's it called for the listeners?
Break free from your monkey mind.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah,
different, I know, and hopefully the same look as you've got as that other people do. Basically, it's a simple term. It's again, it goes back to what I said. I had an issue in a car one day, and all my emotions sort of came out, and I hadn't realised how I thought I was so strong because I could deal with everything. Everybody thought I was so strong, and you realise that that's not being strong at all. The strongest person is the one that asks for help, not the one that doesn't. But it took me a long time to figure that out.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize was, or what to call it, is all these thoughts that were going through my head. The illness was simply I was never going to get better. I was going to get worse, was hopefully, but I wasn't going to get better. And it was a really difficult thing for me to hear that I'm never going to get better. And I deal with chronic pain every day. So I need a way of dealing with that. And all these things go through your heads. I can't do this, I can't do that. That's all that kept happening. Everything was I can't. There was nothing about what I could do. It was all the limits that it was putting on me. Anyway, I thought about it and went, I needed something more. So I started listening to things. And a lot of things I listened to or spoke to other people about didn't actually help. They were drawing me down. They were actually making it feel darker. When all I wanted was somebody to talk openly about it so that I could understand that I wasn't the only one and that somebody could explain to me in layman's terms really what was happening to me or why it was happening. So I looked this thing up and it was a Buddhist term, the monkey mind, or some people call it monkey brain. And it just means all those things that are going on in your head. So it was a different way of calling self-talk. The wee voice, sometimes you hear people saying about how they've got a wee, like a little angely thing or a little devil in them, and there's like one does good and one does bad, and it's how you deal with it.
Yeah.
That's what it was like for me, except it was all the bad things. I never really had many good things go through my head. And when I started doing it, looking into it, I went, there's so much good out there, but some people just need to be able to hear that they're not alone. So I want to set a podcast up that one way to look at it is people can come on and listen to it and feel that it's somewhere that there is no stigma. There's no limits to what you can talk about. No matter what aspect of the subject, I think is the biggest thing for me about it is people understanding that there's a difference between mental health and mental illness. And generally, the difference between poor mental health and a mental illness is it's in the degree to which the difficulties that somebody sort of faces, experiences, have it affects their whole well-being. So I mean, like their how they function in the social context and their work. Could be if they're at uni, schools, academically, it affects you as well. And mental illness typically is more of a significant detrimental sort of thing. It impacts all areas of your life. And if it makes you poor mental health, can be a situation specific and it can be time limited as well. But mental health, everybody has. And I don't think people sometimes get a stigma because they hear the words. But mental health, we all have. If you think about it, how many times a day do you go, oh, I wasn't here doing this, or I don't want to be doing that? That's your mental health doing it. That 5 minutes later, you're playing with your kids, your face lights up, you feel happy. That's you now in a rut boy. So it's like peaks and troughs every day. Everybody has that. Sometimes the troughs just become more than the peaks. And that's the problem for people. And it's seems a thing to me that bothered me about it was you go to a doctor and you've got between 6 and 10 minutes to speak to a doctor about something that's maybe been happening to you for years. And at the end of that, they go, right, here's a set of pills, go home and see if you feel better. And I just thought, this is not right. That can't be right. That's not any good to me. So I wanted to do something more for that. So hopefully the podcast will be a start for people to realise that they're not alone. And I'm going to try and get, well, I've got some guests lined up already, people who have been through things like this, like me, and how they've dealt with it. I've got somebody coming on to talk about mindfulness. And I want to kind of come on and talk about Reiki, EFT. These are all alternative holistic medicines ways or techniques to deal with things to help that maybe the normal people out in, because normal's not the right word, but people in life at the moment don't know that a lot of these things exist because the doctors don't talk about them. Hypnotherapy is another great one to be used for it, but they don't know. NLP, like you do, they just don't look at these things. It's all done either you get your pills or you're putting a waiting list to see a counsellor or a CBT expert for a 12 months to 18 months. They need help sooner. So I'd like to provide some ways and give them opportunities and give them information where they can go and find help when they need it quicker.
That's absolutely brilliant, Tony, because it's going to help so many people. Like that's really, really good. And I think it's a very good thing I heard before that, like, if you help enough people get what they want, you can have anything you want. You probably everything you not anything you but everything you want in life. So it's a really good thing to that you're doing there, and the best luck with it. Like so like it's been great working with you and the guys there for the last couple of months, and you've got an amazing website as well. Do you want to talk a bit around that, Tony?
Well, that's still in the process of getting built. It's built. It's out there now. I'm still in the process of building that up. It's called, if people go and look at www.changingyourmindlimitedltd.com. And it's more for the podcast is a separate thing, really. Although the sort of line, the podcast I said is more for the mental health side I want to deal with, but the other side is my own business, and it's the coaching practice that I've set up. So I look at it in three different ways, really, is life coaching. Some people just need some help with everyday issues in life. Career coaching, because what I mentioned, what I used to do in my old job was help people move either, I call it the Monday morning feeling. How many people got up on a Monday morning and go, I don't want to go into this job. I've had enough for this. I don't want to go back there. But they don't do anything about it. Sometimes it's not they want to put the work in, they just don't know how to. Or they can't get a promotion at work because they feel like they don't like, I said, the assessment centres or the don't interviews. Sometimes they just feel as though their face doesn't fit. So maybe a change might be better. I can just help with any way I can do to make them do that and take that next step, how to do that. And the third bit I'm going to do is just the hypnotherapy side is more, you mentioned, it's people then getting more serious in that and their phobias and fears, how to get them involved so they can start moving, basically to get on to their own path to reach their own goals. But I will just get them onto the path. It's up to them how they go from there, but I'll give them all the tools to do that.
Brilliant. Yeah, because I can vouch for you, Tony. Like you've really helped me along. Like even for creating courses, which I'm creating my own courses, like guitar course and how to create a podcast. And your advice has been brilliant, like second to none. Like the way like you help the group is brilliant as well. So I think like for you doing your course, I think like your website and your podcast, I'm really looking forward to checking this out. And I'm sure that all the listeners the same.
But thank you for that. But remember, is that for people who don't know it, there, although we call the Purple Book Club, our own personal nickname for ourselves is the Fantastic Four,
Fantastic Four,
because
yeah.
we all give something, and I
Yeah.
think that's what's so important in life, is that it's not all about one person.
No.
And I heard a great saying. Um, I know one of you asked me before if I could put something up on a billboard,
Mm.
what would it be as a motivational thing? And I
Yeah.
think it's from, I'm trying to remember. I know if I just said it, I wish I hadn't said it. So I'm trying to remember who said it. I think it's Albert Einstein,
Mm.
and it's don't strive to be successful, strive to be of value. And I
Mm.
thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
It's not all about going out there to be great for yourself or make money or do things you want. The most important thing in life you want to leave it is what you do for others. Because you're
Exactly.
right, what you do unto others can get done unto you. And
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
like maybe
Yeah.
it's the way some people call it paying forward. If you
Mm.
do enough things for other people, you never know when you really need it. Maybe somebody will do something for you.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's something that I think it's, to me, it's really important. And the
Mm.
four of us together actually gel in that way because we're all totally different. We're all
Mm.
different parts of the country. For a
Yeah.
start, you've got Ireland, Scotland, we've got Bedfordshire, we've
Mm.
got Yorkshire. So
Yeah.
people from all different areas and different backgrounds, but we
Mm.
just gel so well. And
Yeah.
looking forward to sometime in the next 2 months anyway, we
Yeah.
get things together with this all going on. We'll get a transformation day done and
Yeah.
we'll let other people see
Mm.
what we can actually achieve, the four of us, but how much help we can give to so many people in one day.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Like myself, and for the listeners, myself, Tony, and Steve, like Tony said, and Vicky, we're going to do a transformational day soon,
Mhm.
and we're going to advertise it. And what we have a Purple Book Club, which we try to put stuff in it as much as we can, and it'd be great to people that are. Thanks very much for anybody who's followed it so far. Like, so we really like to get feedback and your books and your favorites. Like, for listeners, it'd be amazing, wouldn't it, Tony?
Yeah, and that's the thing about it is, it's okay people following it now, but it's down to
Yeah.
us as well as admins to put more content on.
Mm.
But we need to know what content to put on. It'd be great
Yeah.
if people let us know. So if you do look at the Purple Book Club and say that looks good, or it's not just about books, so don't get it wrong.
Mm.
It started off that way, but it's how much books have actually influenced our lives as well.
Yeah.
So for example, we have books we're studying all the time because we need it for what we do, but you've got other books when you just want to relax. A bit like the mental health side, if you want to get away from everything, there's nothing better than getting into a room, putting a set of headphones on, listening to some music and read a book and
Mm.
just totally away from another world. So it's
Yeah.
about taking what books can do and what it can provide for people. And it's
Yeah.
not the book itself, it's everything else. So if
Yeah.
people look at the site, we'd appreciate that. But also just give a wee comment, say, what would you like to see? And we'll
Mm.
look to see if we can provide that for them as well.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. That'd be perfect. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, because yeah. So like when we do this transformation day, you're what part are you gonna? You're gonna do the hypnosis side, isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't that right?
I'm going
Yeah.
to do two bits to it. It's, like I mentioned earlier, I think the most powerful thing from hypnosis or NLP thing is visualization,
Yeah.
is getting people to look at things from a different perspective. So some that I mentioned earlier is how to get people to see themselves achieving one of their goals
Mm.
and get them to actually imagine it. So I'll talk them through the process of how they imagine themselves, what it would be like to achieve that. But once they do that, bring all those feelings back into themselves now. So when they leave that day, they're going to feel a lot more empowered, which is the main bit of my side, is to empower other people. They'll feel empowered to go out and at least start. If they leave there and take one step forward over to what their goal is, that'll be where whatever I've aimed at all day, that's we've achieved. That's the one thing. Everybody in that comes that day just has to leave one step forward, and at least they're going the right way to go. And if they need any further help, they just contact one of us.
Yeah, exactly. And my part of it, I'm going to probably start. I'm going to start off the day where I'm going to be
Hmm.
talking about goal setting
Yeah,
and different ways to set goals. Like, there's lots of different ways. Like, and techniques I'll be sharing with the group. So I hope to see a lot of you there
yeah,
when we get this going.
yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Looking
yeah,
forward to it.
great. And so like. Do you mind me asking you? Thanks very much, Tony, for taking the interview tonight. First of all, it was
No,
really, really
that's all
good.
right.
Yeah, and the next thing I just want to ask you about a few of your favorites, Tony. Like, do you have a favorite book yourself? Like, that you've read?
Um, yeah, there's two, I suppose. Um, one I'm actually reading at the moment is a Christmas present for my wife I got this year, which I love. It's a modern encyclopedia of hypnosis and mesmerism. And for anybody that likes and interested like me, as you can tell, passionate about hypnotherapy, then it's a history of it from where it really was back in the 1700s right up to now, what kind of things it's used for. It's from a guy called Rick Collingwood. It's a fantastic book. So if you're looking for something that's like non-fiction, it's an amazing book to read. It's quite in depth, but if you're interested in that field, it's brilliant. But if it's a fictional book, and see if I don't know if you'd know this then, it's a book and a film, right? So a little bit, see if you guess what for you. The book was by a guy called Philip K. Dick. It was back in the late 60s, I think it was 1968. And the book was called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? That was the name of the book.
Okay.
But it was made into a huge movie. And it's also my favourite film of all time. It came from the book. Would you have an idea what it would be? A lot of people know the name of the film, but don't realise the book.
Blade Runner.
Well done. Yeah, Blade Runner.
Yeah, because I read some of his stuff as well. It's really brilliant. Like,
yeah, it's fantastic, right?
Yeah, I'd recommend get them books for anybody listening. Yeah, thanks, Tony.
Yeah, and it's going to say, if anybody had never seen, they might have seen the sequel to Blade Runner, which is out now. But if you've never seen the original, go and watch that one. Because the acting one's phenomenal, especially as again at Rutger Hauer. I don't suppose a lot of people know films now don't know him, but he's an amazing actor and he's fantastic in that movie. So if anybody does want to see something that's a bit different, go and watch Blade Runner.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's really good, really good. And come here, Tony. You know, can we talk a bit maybe back, like when you were younger? Could you maybe give us a bit of background? Like, do you think from your school days or that got you interested in this line of work? What did you want to do when you were younger? It was like anything that you think that could have.
If you ask my family, they'll say the same thing. My nickname was Cowboy Joe, so that gives you an idea. I wanted to be a cowboy. That's all I was going to be. I was growing up, and I joined the Navy, and I came out of there. To be honest, I think it was in there that first started. That was a mindset thing. They try and train you with a mindset to deal with any issue, how to overcome adversity, and the way it was done. But I suppose you say that looking then was a bit prehistoric. It's to beat it out of you if it took it, but they sort of broke you down as a person, but they rebuilt you stronger. And I was always fascinated from then as how people did that or why they did that. And I think from onwards, I don't know why it took so long before I went into that field, but it's something that's always interesting. Even you think of the film, I thought about it now because my favourite film was Blade Runner. My favourite book I read when I was, what would that be, 20, was Do Androids Dream Electric Sheep. And that's all about the mind. It's all about replicants, they call, so like part human, part android, part machine, part human. And it was all about were they allowed to live over a certain amount of time. Once the use was up, they had this switch that knocked them off. And I was interested in reading that. Was that right? Because if someone's got a mind, does that mean they're real? And it was starting to get a bit deep into it. And something I always wanted to do, I just never did, never time, was to do a degree on psychology to understand the mind better, which is I'm actually doing now. I'm in my third year.
Great.
No, actually, my fourth year. It'll be class fourth year now at university. So it's the same thing. It's combining that. Future-wise, I want to don't be like a lot of psychologists deal with just psychology. I want to do that, but I also want to understand all these holistic methods and how do they impact people's lives. So hopefully be a combination. If I don't mind enough to be a combination of both as a psychologist and working with holistic medicine as well.
Yeah, it's very full on for you, Tony. Like you've been really busy.
I love it though.
Yeah,
I love it though. I don't think I'd be happy any other way than if I was busy.
Like myself, yeah. But I remember you telling me a story before as well when you were in the Navy and you weren't feeling well and they wanted you to do.
PO.
If you want to share that story, I just think it's a really good story.
Try to be polite. I couldn't describe how he called himself. When I first joined, people don't realise when they see the size of me now. I'm 6 feet now and I'm 15.5 stone. When I joined the Navy, I think my height was 170 something, so I think I was about 5 feet 8, 5'9", and as my wife would probably, but I was built like half a pinky. I was that thin. She keeps reminding me I had a 26-inch waist. That's all she ever remembers. That's how tiny I was. So anyway, when I joined, I was sort of run to the group. I was the smallest and the thinnest, and the training was really hard, and I took on well. It was 4 days before we're due to pass out. Pass out is the big parade, so you join the forces. So anyway, to do that, you have to pass certain things. I did all the PE stuff, everything. I'd done my exams, passed all them. But there was one thing left, the salt course. And the doctor had told me there's no way I could do it. I was too ill. I had a drip, everything in my arm. So anyway, PO, who was our trainer, came to see me and reminded me of what his name is. P.O. Lobb. He was about 5'4", 5'5", something like that. He looked tiny wee guy who was the most amazing character you'd ever meet, but he was tough. And what he said to me the day I met him, he says, "My name is P.O.B.A.S.T.A.R.D. and don't you ever forget it."
Yeah.
And not Lob. And that day I came into the hospital. I was lying in the bed. It's the big tube thing, I don't know what you call it, the drip in your arm, because I hadn't been eating or anything. And he just leaned down and leaned over and he went, "I just wanted to come and tell you that don't you worry, son. You just lie there. All your mates are ready to do the salt course now, and they're all going to pass out. But they just wanted you to know that because you can't make it, you can't pass out with them." And I hadn't been told that. I was told I passed everything else. They went, "No, it's been checked. You had to pass that. But don't you worry. You just stay there." And as he went to walk out the sort of room I was in, he left a little bag in the side and he just went, "Just in case you're not as much a wimp as I think you are." And he left. And it took me about 5 minutes really to realise what he'd done. I moved over, put the bag over, and there was a pair of overalls and boots. So I took the drip out my arm, put the overalls on, the boots on, and I ran out the hospital and all the way down to the assault course. And the group of them were there and just ran, and they'd all just started. And I was way at the back, and I was already bad enough being the weakest one, the slowest one. But something just took over, and I got through all that. We eventually finished the assault course and everything. And he came at the end of it, and he was standing waiting at the other end of the line for me. So when I finished the assault course, he was there and said, "Right, you can get back up to that bed now. You shouldn't have been down here." But he just made sure I did that so I could pass it with everybody else.
Oh, that's brilliant, yeah.
But when I went home, I didn't realise I'd left me a mark with it. A big mark right up the centre of my chest with the rope burn. I'd been that bad trying to do it. I had the rope burned right through my overalls. I had the wrong overalls, but he just got me a set to do it. I had to set nylon ones on. It was like fire when I realised how bad I was. Trying to explain that to the doctor in the hospital bed. And I said, "I've not been anywhere and I've got this big burn mark up the middle of my chest." But, and funny you brought that story up because sidetrack, my mum died of COVID a few months ago and my dad's still going through everything. When we went round to the house at the weekend, he'd put a picture up in his mantelpiece and I hadn't even noticed it. And the mantelpiece, you won't believe this, was the reason I was so desperate to pass out. My mum was there and she hadn't been well. She wasn't able to walk at the time. She walked to meet me on the playground and he took a picture of the two of us together, and that's up on his mantelpiece the other day. He found it after all the years.
Wow.
And I can get a wee card somewhere there. And there's the wee booklet when you join the Navy's little booklet, you sign everything. He brought that. And just you asking that story, it was weird because you've asked that just as I saw that picture. I've never seen that picture. I mean, my mum like that. Me with the uniform on as I just passed out and her with me. That's the first time I've ever seen it. And that's then brilliant. You redo the story today. It's a bit weird that, but
yeah. I'm really sorry, but it's very like it's not too long ago it happened. Like it was just it's really tough.
It's what you said, but you can I look at it now and see the things that my dad's done, the pictures he gave me and everything. So you've got all the good memories from that as well, and that's an important part.
Yeah, you have to just look at the positive and the memories. That's like when my own dad like passed recently, so you have to kind of think of all the good stuff. But like I said in the Purple Book Club this morning, it's important to remember the memories. The good times will keep the memories going. But so just yourself, Tony, would you have kind of a daily routine you do yourself? Like, do you have a kind of a daily routine?
I do now. One of the most important bits I've added into my routine in the morning is I do some Tai Chi in the morning when I get up.
Very good.
And it's because it's physical, but it's mental as well. So it helps, just 10 minutes, but it helps to settle my brain. So it makes everything relaxed. So though you're doing some exercise, you're actually doing a lot of breathing exercise at the same time. And it really helps to clear your head. So I like to do that. And then just before I start in the morning, similar to you, there'll be podcasts. I listen to a few podcasts just to help sort of buzz me up a wee bit in some ways for the day. I was never really a big fan. I watched a lot of Tony Robbins thing, but I know Vicky that works with us is. Yeah. And Vicky's got me into listening to maybe some of his, but I don't always listen to everything. But I like the beginning, the bits about energizing. And I always try and do that with us in the morning. I like to send a wee thing out every morning just to say good morning. I usually try and do somebody bouncing about or jumping about or something.
Brilliant, yeah.
Just to get you feel a wee bit more energized before you start the day. So the Tai Chi helps to settle my mind. and then the energized back, a wee bit of exercise and that at the same time just helps to invigorate your body. And before you start looking at any phones or start looking at work, and it just makes you feel a lot more aligned with yourself, I suppose, the best way of putting it.
Yeah, kind of get you motivated. Would you agree with that? Like, because I have the same kind of, I always have a morning routine. I really get to set you up good for the day when you do something. For listeners to, to kind of concentrate and not, like you say, not look at your phone in the first thing in the morning. Just no social media, but just do something productive that really set you up for the day. Would you?
Yeah, it's just make you always need time yourself, and I think that's something people forget. You can have social media, you can be on a phone or your tablet or whatever people use. You can still be alone. You can still be isolated because it's just you and that. There's no interaction. So if you can get your mindset right for that day, and you're looking forward to the interaction with other people or doing work, whatever you're doing, it makes you feel a lot better. If you're just sitting looking at that phone and you think, I've got to go to work, and especially at this moment, most people are working from home. So if that's all they've got, and then they're sitting, it's four walls, or staring at a monitor or something, but they don't have the interaction the same. Having that little bit in the morning makes you feel a little bit better, more invigorated than what you do by doing that.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. No, like, you're spot on, Tony. And I just think that the three of us, all of us have this lot of thing in common about school, like with bullies and all that kind of stuff. Didn't you kind of had a hard time like myself with that sort of things and back in school?
I think you always try and look back and think what caused it or why it happened. I can only think that I would say I was small, I was thin, maybe that's why. But it's you've always this thing is you carry it around a long time as well, and that can be a problem. It can affect you in other things in life. That's something I did realise. And I worked away for a long time from Scotland. I worked in South, and I came back, and unbeknown to me, it was always still there. And I walked into a pub one night in Wages not long after we came back, and one of the guys that used to always do it to me was standing at the bar. And I walked up and then I seen him. And the first reaction, the first couple of seconds was like, oh no, because your mind thinks back to what happened. But then I looked at him and I looked at me and I looked at Damson as one, I'm so much taller now than I was as a kid. So I'm standing over him, bigger than him. And it was, I don't know, I felt veins in my neck bulge out. I was angry. I wanted, I suppose, revenge. I wanted to get back. And about 30 seconds, a minute later, I just felt as though all the blood just disappeared back away again. And I started smiling at myself. And I realised what it was. It wasn't worth it. What was I going to do to beat up on somebody that small, that frail? What was the point of that? And then I thought, that's the difference between me and him. When I was the frail one, I was the small one, and they picked on me. What was the point of that? What did they actually get out of doing that to me? So when I look at it now the other way, I'm sitting going, well, actually, I never allowed myself to be that bad. So I just asked him how he was doing, and then talked with it, and I walked away, and I went, not even sure if 100% if he recognised me, but he did, because he mentioned it later. He did recognise me. I went, but I felt more vindicated for the way at him, and yet it's not worth it.
No. Like, that's a good kind of lesson for kids in school now, because it's a lot worse now for kids growing up with social media and all like that, Tony, isn't it? Like,
it's good. See, they don't. I think the hardest thing with that is you learn from it. And I wish I'd learned it when I was younger. Is it passes? And people change. You grow up. Everything they change. Just don't let that become you. You don't want to be something different because of that. So you to become something because it made you into something better, because you've come through all that hardship. You've come through something that not many people might have, whether it's from online or anything. But all you've got to keep thinking yourself is that that's the same thing as, what are they actually getting out of that? So what is it really affecting you? And it's hard when people call you names and everything else at the time. But when you really sit and think about it, it's not really. It's not as bad as you actually think. A lot of the time we make it worse ourselves, not them. Because we make it worse when it's in our own mind.
Exactly.
And that's the bit I'd love to be able to do. I know there's a few people do this already, get into schools and that help people with that. I would like to see schools do more of that. Either you and hypnotherapists, NLP, some sort of coaching for kids, how to deal with these situations so they don't carry it through their life.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think that stuff would really help in schools. I agree 100%. Because even there's a really good book that I was reading there, I was telling you about today, The Four Agreements, is like, don't make assumptions. Don't think if someone's, it's their opinion, whatever they think about you, that's their opinion, doesn't make it right. Even if someone's saying to you that you're the best person in the world, doesn't mean it make it right. Just don't take it take it to heart. Like he says it in that way. I think it's really, really for kids, anybody who's being bullied, not to take it personally. Like if they're, it's only words, but then if they're hitting you or anything like that, then but words shouldn't let it affect you as much, or shouldn't.
No, even
What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think that's the thing for most bullies. They can only get away with it as long as you let them.
Yeah.
They can't bully you if you don't let them. And if you're not getting intimidated by it, and if you're not letting that bother you, that worries them more, that bothers them more, because they'll go and look for something else, because there's no point in doing it to you. And if everybody does it, then they'll have to go somewhere else to do it, because they're not going to get any impact with them. Bullies only work on the fear of everybody else.
Yeah.
And fear can be such a positive thing for people. People think it's a bad thing, a negative, but it's not. Fear, I've got a little acronym. I got someone, I wish I knew where I got it. It's face everything and rise. That's what fear stands for. So if you face everything and you rise above whatever it is. And that's what fear is. All it is your mind telling you to stay safe. That's all fear is. It's just making you stay safe. Watch you. Yeah. So they might do something stupid, but if you do this or that, it's not going to be the same. So it's how to get kids to feel that way, so that they don't worry about what someone says or what they do. It's easier said than done.
It is, yeah.
But it's not more difficult to do that, and it's better to make an effort to do that than let them live that way.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, like it's like that's spot on what you're saying, Tony. Like and even like if you're getting like when we were in school, we went home and it was finished for the day. But now, as you know, the phone
it keeps going.
So like I think the best advice I can give for having kids growing up in school is, excuse me, if they're the phone, just turn the phone off, block your accounts, just don't let it get in you, like, because it's only words. Just close it all down. Like, don't keep looking at it. If you look, the more you look at it, the social media, anybody giving you like, report it. Don't let it in. Don't let it destroy you. Just make sure you tell someone that this is happening. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, there needs to be somebody somehow that people actually monitor these things.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot going on at the moment behind the scenes to try and get Facebook and Twitter and Instagram not to start internally monitoring these things more, so that something get done as soon as it happens, it's prevented, or the person that does it. Because why should the person who's doing nothing wrong lose out in social media because of these people?
Good point.
So we really need is not them to lose out on it. It should be the other people. Something internal needs to get done, or even the parents of the people, whoever's involved, or friends who really know, have the guts to stand up and say, no, that's not right. So get them done. If you notify somebody, they can get their account stopped. It's not fair to stop the person who's not done a thing wrong, and that they shouldn't be allowed on social media because someone else is doing it. And it would bother the other person more.
Yeah.
That's a better way of getting them back as well.
That's a good point, Tony. But what I'm saying to you is that, like, if just say it's getting to them, just block them, or just
if they have to do that,
just block them for the moment, because like, there's no point in every time looking at it, because that can really get in them. Like it's sometimes it's even better to get a punch than that crap to happen. Because it will affect you.
Yeah, and the thing we got to do is trying to get away from all of that. That it shouldn't happen. It's always going to be that it's just human nature.
Yeah.
But it's just finding the best way of dealing with it for each individual, and it might be somebody has to switch it off to do it, or alternatively, don't look at it as being switched off. As what can I do instead of doing that? Getting to do something else instead of it. What could do to build their confidence up? So what else could we be doing instead of being on the phone? I know it's hard at the moment because they can't really go out and do a lot of sports things and that they would do. That's the difficult thing. But trying to find something where they could go and do something else, whether it's computer game things they can do, or something that's on TV or that watch, anything that just gets them away, that they don't need to be on the phone all the time. Do something as a family.
Yeah, it's great. Even
That.
to change your own emotions is great stuff.
That's it. It's just to turn your state around, so you don't think about it.
And even I saw a really good part, like you've probably seen it yourself. Graham was saying, if just say, for instance, you're feeling down, you're like that, if you just step straight and like change even the way your posture, and then go into the mirror and give yourself the funniest grin in the mirror. Like I done it, and it's like it does change your state, like, straight away. You just can't feel down doing that.
Yeah, it's like affirmations you do. So when you get through a hard time, you look in a mirror and you say that as, I can do better. I'm going to do better. I will do better.
Yeah.
So you keep saying that to yourself. These 3 things, and say it every day, staring at a mirror, and you'll realise within no time at all you won't have to say them. You just look in the mirror, your shoulders will go back, you stand taller, your stomach will go on, and you just feel so much better. And it doesn't have to be those statements, it can be your own, any affirmations of your own. But if you do it 3 times every single morning and keep looking in the mirror and say that every time to yourself, you'll see before long you'll realise you don't have to say anything. You just look in the mirror and that feeling comes. And that's what you want to see. That could be the grin he's talking about, because that's what'll happen. You'll start feeling better in yourself.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. Thanks very much, Tony. Like, that's great advice for anybody. Like, because it's so simple to change your state, even listen to music, like you say, or do anything like that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And that's all you want. But everything that we do, whether through hypnotherapy, whether it's NLP, whatever coaching people do, that's all we're trying to do, is to get people's mind state to change, something more positive. And that's all. As if everybody has that in them to do that, as I said, that's what NLP is all about. We've all got the resources to do that, to look at things more positive. It's just finding the right way of doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're going to do a podcast. Hopefully the 4 of us are going to do a podcast together. Going to try and set it up. So I think that'd be brilliant, because the way we do our Sunday mornings chat, like, I think it's great, to help each other. Like, so I think it'd be great to kind of do that podcast. What do you think of that, Tony?
Yeah, I think even I mentioned this to a couple of others. Just do that. See what we talk about on a Sunday morning. There's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of advice going around. There's helping. I think a lot of people would get things out of it just for the fact the way we just talk. We pick a subject and talk about it. We look at things that's happened over the week or what we're looking at. It could be anything at all. What any people, leave it open to people. Contact the Purple Book Club. Tell us what you want us to talk about. We could do the podcast on whatever they say. So that week, the most votes we get for that week, that's the subject we'll talk about, and see if we can come up with some way of helping people at the end of it.
That's brilliant. Yeah, like, so stay tuned for that, everybody. We're going to try and get that on the next couple of weeks. The Fantastic Four. keep an eye out for the Fantastic Four.
We'll get it done by the end of March. We'll get one done by the end of March.
Yeah, cool. But no, it's been great. Like, this has been, I hope you're enjoying this podcast. Tony and everybody here. But would you have a favorite film yourself, favorite movie?
I said it, Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
That's the book, and that's my favourite one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you have any others that come to mind? Have you any? What kind of?
I love a lot of movies. I think for me another one would be to Enter the Dragon. Bruce Lee. His first main Hollywood mainstream one, and he died just after. He's one of my heroes. And growing up, he was somebody I really looked to, who achieved so much through adversity. If you look what he went through in his life and his young life, he's only young 30s, and look what he achieved. He nearly changed the whole world's outlook to how you do martial arts. And he took, which was like hidden arts in China and that, and brought it into the mainstream. So I think if you watch Enter the Dragon, it's not the greatest film, but it's just watching him in the movie and the way he could interact. The martial arts of it is just out of this world. So I think that would be, if I had any other one, it'd be Enter the Dragon.
Right, yeah, because you've been like myself. You've been doing martial arts for a couple of years.
I used to do it. I don't now. I did it for a while, but not now. I'm afraid I'm too old and too unfit now to do it like that.
I know, but you did it in the past. Like, that's great for any young people that are listening as well. Like, I definitely recommend getting yourself involved in some kind of martial arts. Like,
I'd say I wish I did it when I was young. I did it when I was older. Just more of fitness than anything else. But yeah, if you look back at it now, it's so disciplined as well. That's the thing about it, is it's not just about the art of doing what you're doing yourself. It's the discipline it makes in you, mentally and physically, and it makes you more resilient. And I think for helping through working life, or we just talked about, if you've got any issues, you couldn't get anything better than doing that. So if there's any kids out there that has issues, go and learn a martial art. And it's not about, martial art's not about fighting.
No.
Martial arts is defensive more things than attacking. But it's more about the group. You learn to get fitter, your mind gets stronger, you become more alert, but you also get great camaraderie with the people you actually train with all the time. So you'll get a good group of friends as well that'll get you away from everything else.
And what style of karate did you do?
It was actually kickboxing. So for the style, if you're looking for a martial arts like Muay Thai, was the closest martial art to it.
Oh yeah. Like, kickboxing's really good. I enjoyed doing that myself. I did Kempo and kickboxing.
For getting fit wise, it's brilliant. You couldn't get much. There's a great one called Billy Blanc. I think his name is. He does Taibo. It was a thing he invented about the 80s and 90s, and it's still brilliant if you watch it now. And it takes like sort of kickboxing exercises into fitness routine, and he does ones for beginners right up. But it's a really good one if you're to get fit, or if you're fit, you want to get fitter. Let's try that. It's called Taibo.
I thought, oh yeah, that's great. I must have a look at that. Yeah, kind of well, like even, but like there's probably a book that you and I share. You know, the book The Bouncer that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
I found that a really fascinating book, a really, really good book as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ones like that's really good. But there's a lot of martial arts that wrote really good books as well about the arts and how to do things like that. And it's a great thing to get into if anybody wants to do it.
Yeah, because like I really think the story was really good of The Bouncer, where his kid wasn't really into karate. He didn't like fighting. He hated fighting. But then Jeff Thompson it was based on, and then it goes through, and he ends up getting, his dad pushes him to do it, but he ends up getting really, really good at it. And like his story is really good. If anybody wants to check it out, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's, I don't know, infamous or famous as he's like for the bouncer world. Yeah, you don't get much better than him.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. But do you have any favorite music as well, Tony? Any favorite bands?
I knew you were going to ask this. I've got so many.
What would your favorite be?
I've told you before, but well, I think I love music from every era. From modern stuff, I love rock. I love Metallica. I've really got into them recently. I never get into it at the peak, but I do now. But I've loved music all through my life, from every sort of era, honestly, right back from the 70s right up. But I suppose one band that's lasted all that, and funny aspect of it, because my wife's saying I'm dragging her in November to see a 70-year-old granny singing in Glasgow at the Hydro. I'm going to see Blondie. And I've loved them all my life, but I've never seen them live. I'm going to see them now, and she's about 70, I don't know, she's about 75, 76 now. So I wish I'd seen her in her prime when I really liked her. Because when we got together, we were young. And always, that's what you remember as my room. It used to be covered in posters of Debbie Harry everywhere. So that's always been one of them aim to be, is to go and see Blondie. And I'm going to see them in November.
Yeah, that'd be a great gig. That'd be a really good gig. Yeah, something to look forward to. Because did you have any gigs planned the last 2 years you were meant to go to that were cancelled?
No, we were lucky that we'd been to a lot of the ones. We've talked about Leicester for enough. We've been to quite a lot of gigs together over the last 15 years or so. But the last couple of years, we just didn't have a lot of time for it. Only one was like going to see shows as well, and one we got to see was both. It's a musical show, and it's Bat Out of Hell. I've always wanted to see that. It's come in the show, but it was supposed to be in November last year. It was cancelled, so it has been put forward to this November. I said, we've not done it for years, but we're going to be busy in November. We've got 2 or 3 things that on in November this year. Because it'd be worth to go see that, because that should be amazing as well as a show. Bat Out of Hell.
Because I went to see Meatloaf there 2 or 3 years ago. It was a great show. Like, it was really good. Yeah,
I've not something else. I've never seen his Meatloaf, but I'd like to have seen. He was brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. But no, definitely. Hopefully, when things open up, we'll be back doing the concerts again.
Oh yeah, I would with that. You miss it. It's something different, and it's the atmosphere in a concert. That's the amazing thing.
Brilliant. Guns N' Roses are great as well. I went to see them in '92.
I was going to say, but you go and see them now, it's not quite the same.
Oh, it's not.
The last time I saw them, they weren't the same as what they were then. I'm the same as you. I love Guns N' Roses, but it's a difficult, because growing up, the bands you love, you try and go and see them again. We went a couple of years ago. Simple Minds was one of my favourites growing up, but it wasn't the same as what I remembered when I was younger seeing them. When you go and see them now, but some others are just as good as they were then, but some aren't. It's so different when you try and put it in.
Yeah. But listen, thanks a million, Tony, for coming on tonight.
No problem.
It's great, And stay tuned. Like, for guests, stay tuned. We're the Fantastic Four, like Tony said, and we're going to hopefully get a podcast on, and then we're going to do our day, our transformational day as well. So there's loads to look forward to. But then listen, all the best with your new website as well. It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah,
it's going to be great. And then
thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope I can return the fate. Hopefully I can come on yours.
Oh, you will, don't worry. You'll be on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks a million, guys, for joining me tonight in Mark's Motivational Podcast with your host, Mark Lestrange. Tonight I was delighted to be joined by Tony Gordon. Thanks a million again, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, guys.